Welcome back to Volume 2 of Sunday Service. My name is Jay. This is presented by Morris Video Productions, and today we will be previewing the 2024-25 UK men's basketball team. This is very near and dear to my heart as I've grew up loving Kentucky ever since day one, and this year is going to be a really big change from what I'm used to. I was born in 93, so I was a little too young for the Pitino era. I was a part of a little bit of the Tubby era, but really the first coach that I visibly remember and visibly probably hated was Billy Gillispie, and then we went straight from there to Cal. So I've known nothing but Cal for the majority of my upbringing, my life, anything along those lines. This year, the offseason was crazy. We really had a lot of changes. Cal was leaving and then staying and leaving and staying, and then Mitch Barnhart went on the news and said he was staying, and then 3 days later he went to Arkansas. That Tyson chicken money must pay well, and good luck to you, Cal. Now, kind of like every single year, we really don't know a lot about this roster yet, but it's in a different type of way. Every year we usually have one and dones, and I've heard about that for 20 years now, and I really don't want to hear about it anymore. If we don't get to know the players, and no one knows players, well, it's my job today to educate you on some guys. Now, this team is going to look very different than the typical Coach Cal or even UK roster that we're used to over the past 16 years. We've always had that youth development, 5 or 6 freshmen, a couple sophomores if you're lucky, and maybe one junior on the team. It's probably the exact opposite this year. I believe we have 3 freshmen on the roster, 4 super seniors, a junior, another senior, another sophomore. So experience is plethora here. I don't think Mark Pope is going to have any issues with people being ready for the moment. It's just a matter if the talent matches up the talent of the past. Coach Pope has done it before in the Big 12 with BYU, but BYU and Kentucky are 2 completely different spectrums. Hats off. I mean, he made that BYU team with obviously their, restrictions that they have. We're not going to get into religion on this, but they have some restrictions there. He was able to get some dogs there. Jackson Robinson, which is probably our best player, arguably, transferred from over there. But if he can turn those limitations in that team into a tournament team and a Big 12, like upper echelon team, I'm very excited to see what he can do with Kentucky's recruiting, Kentucky's atmosphere, Kentucky's background. We're going to kind of do maybe 2 MVP threes. We'll see how this kind of goes. I want to talk about 3 players that I'm invested in and hopefully you get invested in. And then as of right now, the top 3 games that I'm looking forward to. The whole schedule hasn't came out, but there's some big heavy hitters that came out so far. So let's start with the man of the hour, the man I just mentioned, Jackson Robinson. Jackson Robinson came from BYU. He put a lot of UK fans in stress because he waited right until the deadline to enter the draft or not, and actually didn't announce it till 3 or 4 hours past the deadline. So we were trying to go after Chaz Lanier, who went to Tennessee, and I think he's a stud, and it's going to be arguable or not if he may not be the best player in the SEC besides maybe Wade Taylor or somebody along those lines. But Jackson was an absolute get. We had a great solid core, but we didn't have a dog. We didn't have a guy when it comes crunch time that he knows what to do. He's going to go shoot the bucket. Whether he's going to make it or not, he's got the confidence to shoot it. Jerry Meyer, 27 Sports, when he recruited him back in 2020, compared him to Reggie Bullock. I like Reggie Bullock's game. I don't know if that's quite the right comparison now. It might have been the right comparison in 2020. I'm actually leave that up to you all. If you got a comparison for him, if you've seen him ball, drop in the comments. Let me know who he reminds me. To give you a little background on Jackson, his aunt actually played in the WNBA. So it kind of ties in with my first video. She played for the Liberty and she played for the Mystics. And actually right now she's assistant coach for the Chicago Sky. BYU averaged 14, 2, and 2 on 42% shooting. As much as he chucked up the ball, he was kind of the 6-man Lou Will type there. He's going to have to be a starter. Unless we try to want to pull another year of Reed and Rob, who the 6th and 7th man got drafted top 8. Anyways, we don't want to make that mistake again. You got to play the best players when they're playing them. The second player that I want to talk about, and I really worked on this, how I almost butchered pronunciation on the first one, is Otega Oweh. I didn't really know a lot about him going in. I heard Twitter going crazy about him, like, this is a project guy, but if he reaches his full potential, he's really going to shine for the Cavs. Otega last year at Oklahoma averaged 11, 3, and 1, and shot 49% from the field. That Oklahoma team kind of had a balance out of who was the dog and who wasn't. But Oweh, for me, he can guard 1 through 3. He's 6'4", he's versatile. He's something completely different that I don't think we've had in a while. Like, we need him and Lamont Butler are going to be them wing defenders that Cal has always had great defensive teams. Last year was not a great defensive team. And Mark Pope's not really known for defensive teams. But you got to have some defensive guys in there. We know they're going to chuck up a bunch of threes. We know we're going to score. But can we stop it? And last but not least, probably my personal favorite just because of the story behind it is Andrew Carr. 6'11", played at Wake Forest last year. A stretch 4, stretch 5 really plays the modern game of basketball. But what's fascinating to me, I read on 24/7 Sports that he was a 0-star recruit out of high school. 0 stars. And now, once the transfer portal happened, they rated him as a 4-star. That's determination. I don't see a lot of 0-star guys making it. And even if you do, it's usually in a mid-market team or a mid-major or maybe a mid-major that transfers up the next year. But he was doing it in the ACC. And to me, that's a proven winner. Now it's time to talk about it. My favorite 3 games of the year. Now, the first one, everybody and their mother's going to say, but I have to say, it's Arkansas. I mean, it speaks for itself. Cal is coming here. I am very, very interested to see the response. I think pregame, he'll get cheers. I do. A lot of the hatred towards him, I think, has kind of subsided just because he's gone now. I could be completely wrong on that. I do think, though, throughout the game or through his antics or maybe post-game, depending on how it goes, he's going to get a plethora of boos. And Cal, if I know one thing about Cal, he's going to notice them people booing. It don't matter if it's 3 people in a arena size of 20,000. He's going to notice that, and that's going to drive him. And if they're going to win any game this year, and Arkansas is good, I'm not saying they're not. If they're going to win any game this year, it's that game. My second most important game of the year is Duke. It's game 1. So I understand, look, hey, we played Duke game 1 a couple times, and it's never went well for us. But this year's really going to be a test to see where our talent is. I don't have a lot of expectations going into the year. I really don't. We win a tourney game, win a couple games in the SEC. I think it'd all be set from there. But to me, this game is really important because Duke has kind of like what we were known for before. They've got Cooper Flagg coming in. They've got this big freshman class kind of to mix with everybody. They had a lot of transfers out. This is like one of the most highly touted freshman classes in a long time. We'll see. Does experience beat youth? We see it happens in the tournament, but does it happen in a regular season game? It's really going to set the pace throughout the rest of the year to see where we are as a team. And I put it third because we've been whooping their ass for like 15 years now. But it's important. It's different. Listen, Kenny Payne's gone. Cal's gone. They were best friends. The rivalry didn't really feel like a rivalry. I think it's back. Pat Kelsey's doing a great job at Louisville. Hands up, I can't say anything else. He's really turned that program around because they need a whole lot more turnaround than we did. We felt lost. They were like in the Bermuda Triangle, like somewhere else over here. But I will say the most thing I look forward more to the most, Mark 10 is 6'10". I kind of debate that. And Pat Kelsey's my height, which I'm short. I'm like 5'6", 5'7". I cannot wait till they go face to face because he's going to be like mid-chest high. It's really going to be enjoyable to see that this rivalry come back to life. Kentucky thrives off it. The fans thrive off it. And I can't wait to see what happens this year. So, what's your expectations for the next year? How do we finish? What's our record? Who are you looking forward to seeing? Who do you want to know more about? My name is Jay. I'll see you next week.